There's a guy. Let's call him Marcus. Regular dude. Works a 9 to 5, pays his bills, saves a little. And one morning, he wakes up and sees his timeline flooded. Chip stocks and AI companies are surging. Everybody is talking about Micron, how it just reported record revenues, how the CEO said they're sold out of high bandwidth memory for the entire year. And Marcus is watching this in real time. He sees people posting screenshots of their portfolio up 30, 40, 50%. Influencers calling it the next great bull run. His coworker won't stop talking about it. And something starts happening inside him. Not logic, not strategy. Fear. Fear of missing out. He's thinking everybody else is getting rich right now and I'm just sitting here. So he does what FOMO always tells you to do. He acts fast. He throws in a chunk of money he wasn't planning to invest. He buys at the top, right when the hype is the loudest. And then the stock pulls back. Not because the company is bad, not because AI is dead. Marcus simply bought at the peak of the excitement and mistook it for opportunity. He's now down 25%, stressed, checking his phone every hour, asking himself, when is it going back up? And the worst part? He's not even mad at the stock. He's mad at himself because deep down he knows he didn't invest. He panicked. And here's what nobody tells Marcus or you. The Bible actually addresses this exact moment directly. Proverbs 13 says, "Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it." This isn't a financial advisor talking. This is 1,000 years old wisdom, and it perfectly describes what just happened to Marcus. He didn't build, he grabbed. And when you grab, when your entry is driven by what everybody else is doing instead of what you actually understand, you are not investing. You are gambling with your emotions. Little by little. That phrase doesn't sound exciting. Nobody makes a highlight reel of their slow, consistent contributions, but that's exactly the point. The investor who quietly invests month after month didn't need the FOMO. They were already in the game. Haste and wealth are enemies. The Bible knew that before Wall Street did. And Proverbs doesn't stop there. Proverbs 28 says, "A faithful man will abound with blessings, but whoever hastens to be rich will not go unpunished." Because the desire to get rich quickly changes how you think. It makes you ignore warning signs. It makes you risk money you can't afford to lose. It turns investing into a slot machine. And notice what the first half says. A faithful man will abound with blessings. Faithful means consistency, showing up when it's boring, doing the right thing repeatedly, even when nobody's cheering. That's what builds wealth. That's what the word says. But here's where it gets deeper. Because some of you heard those first two proverbs and thought, okay, maybe I should just avoid investing. I'll just hold cash. But that's not it. In Matthew 25, Jesus tells a story. A master entrusts money to 3 servants. One gets 5, another gets 2, one gets 1. The first servant takes his 5 and puts them to work, trades, invests, multiplies. When the master returns, he's doubled it. The second servant does the same thing. 2 becomes 4. Then comes the third servant. And what did he do with what he was given? He buried it. He said, "I was afraid," so he dug a hole and put the money in the ground and just waited for the master to come back. He didn't lose it, he just protected it. And the master was furious. Now, think about what that means. A lot of people think they're being responsible by doing nothing with their money. I don't want to lose it, it's too risky. I'll just keep it in savings account. But the parable implies doing nothing with what God entrusted to you is its own kind of failure. Here's the principle buried inside this passage. All wealth ultimately belongs to God. You are not owners, you are stewards. And stewardship is not just about keeping things safe. It's about making them fruitful. The third servant wasn't punished for losing the money. He was punished for refusing to try. So, if you've been sitting on it for years, telling yourself it's wisdom when really it's just fear, think again. Now, let's say you've accepted that. You accept that you need to put your money to work. You're past the fear of doing nothing. The next trap is the opposite extreme, going all in on one thing. One stock, one sector, one narrative everyone is hyped about right now. Look at what Ecclesiastes 11 says. Divide your investments among many places, for you do not know what risks might lie ahead. 7, even 8. Not 1, not 2, not whatever's trending this week. The wisest man who ever lived, King Solomon, was already talking about diversification before the word even existed. Think about what Marcus did. He took a chunk of money and poured it into one thing, one sector that was already hot, because that was the thing everyone was talking about. Solomon is saying, you don't know what's coming. You don't know when the cycle turns. You don't know when the macro shifts. So, Spread it. Different sectors, different asset classes, maybe some index funds, some individual positions. Not because any one of them is a bad bet, but because you don't know which one will face the next disaster. And neither does anyone else. The person who diversifies doesn't need to predict the future. They've already planned for uncertainty. One more thing I need to say, and this one is for the traders specifically. Luke 14, Jesus says, "Suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Won't you first sit down and estimate the cost to see if you have enough money to complete it? For if you lay the foundation and are unable to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule you." Count the cost. This is risk management written in red letters. Before you enter a trade, you need to know, what is the most I can lose on this trade? If this goes to zero, does it affect my rent, my bills, my emergency fund? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. If one bad trade can wipe out your account, you never counted the cost. You laid a foundation without finishing the math. Strict risk management is not a Wall Street concept. It is a biblical concept. Never risk more than you can afford to lose on any single position. Use stop losses. Size your positions based on what a loss actually means to your life, not based on how confident you feel about the trade. Because confidence and competence are not the same thing. Marcus was confident. He was so sure the chip stocks were going to keep running, but he never asked himself, what happens if I'm wrong? Count the cost before you build, before you buy, before you enter. I want to close with something, because everything I just said, the patience, the stewardship, the diversification, the risk management, all of it is practical, all of it will help you build wealth. But I need to be honest with you about something deeper. Jesus said in Matthew 6, "Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." He's not saying don't invest. He's not saying money is evil. He's saying watch what you love. Because Marcus wasn't just stressed about losing money. He was losing sleep. He was checking his phone every hour. His mood was connected to that ticker. That's not investing anymore. That's worship. Invest wisely. Build little by little. Be a faithful steward of what you've been given. Diversify. Count the cost. Protect yourself. Do all of that. But hold it loosely. Because earthly wealth is real, but it is temporary. Heavenly treasures never crash. There's no earnings reports. It doesn't follow the macroeconomics. And the way you build it is not with money. It is with faithfulness. Be faithful with what He gave you on earth, and trust Him with the rest.